And we are ready to go. Game 1 of the next series. And the gentleman's handshake. And Josh is going first, and he has drawn Complete Trek. Funny enough, if you just change one of the I's with an A, you have Warrior. Shout out to the Golden State Warriors. But that is not the case, and Josh has to exchange. Literally does not have a valid play other than OR or row. But yeah, he can't do that. And wow, we might see a double exchange because Noah has two V's and a G, so pretty much the ugliest draws you could come up with to start the game. But hopefully they get better from here. So Noah doesn't have to exchange. He's just going to play vlog. Scores, and it immediately just detonates the board. And thankfully, he opened vertically. That makes me very happy. Josh still has junk, but slightly better junk. He can play Irony for 19. He can maybe play Iron, actually, and just leave the Y hook, since it's going to be hard for Noah to use that, but it's not the best hook. It's not like it scores that much. So he's probably just going to play Irony and go for the standard equity play. Noah has drawn more direct. Now he has three S's and a V. So he's going to go ahead and throw the Y on the end there. He could have played it lower for 2 more points, but I guess he wants to keep the board more compact. Oh, I'm sorry. That's actually more points to play it up there. I'm tripping. I'm sorry, guys. Okay. Even though the Y would hit the double letter down there, it doesn't overcome the other stuff with the hooks up there. So it looks like Noah. Yeah, he can play Hyson, Hyson, a less commonly seen word. That would be probably the only play. Exchanging, of course, is fine, but when you have 22 points available, you might as well just take it. VSS is garbage of a lead, but it's not so bad you need to exchange all the time. So I think it's in his best interest to just take the points, but see what he ends up doing. I think it's really either that or exchange. Then you want to avoid exchanging at all costs. Well, not at all costs, but as much as you can, because scoring 0 is 0. So if Noah plays Hyson, that floating of the O is going to happen to give Josh the O that he needs to bingo through. And surely enough, as I burp, that's what's going to happen. So Noah's going to play Hyson, and then Josh is going to get his Indentor. Indentor is the only bingo he has here. Noah picked up the U at an inopportune time, seeing as he already had the V, but let's see what options he has. So Noah would have to burn both of the S's in order to play Husks from the H and Heisen. So that's certainly worth considering, but I think he might just play SUK and Heisens because ERSV is a pretty good leave. Now that being said, if he does play Suk, maybe he should play it with Indentors because if he plays, oh no, sorry, okay, he'll have an S hook with Suk. So either one, he'll have an S hook, but yeah, so Heisens and Suk is probably the best play. Husk scores more, but I don't know if it's worth it because you burn both S's and you don't really leave yourself with much potential next turn. Josh has picked up the Z and he has some nice opportunities next turn, depending on what Noah does. So he is going to play Husks. Certainly can't fault him for it. So Josh has iodizes to the S. He could consider playing Caesar from the S in Heisen for 36. The leave isn't that good with DIO, but it closes the board, somewhat. And at this point, that should be a priority because Caesar will give him a 50-ish point lead, which is plenty enough to try to at least start boxing your opponent out. He could play Azido in the top right, but that puts the Z right next to the double letter, so that's probably not great. It's too easy for your opponent to overlap it and score a lot of points with any letters with an A. See, I think overall it's a tough spot. Because iodizes scores the same as Caesar, roughly, I think you just have to play Caesar because that defensive value is value, but you don't want to really throw that away. So he's going to elect to play the other option, which is diazos. It used to be for a long time that diazo did not take an S, but that got added to the dictionary at some point, obviously. And I'm just not a fan because I would rather try to close the board instead of blowing it open. But at this point, I guess he doesn't feel like his lead is significant enough to warrant that. So Noah has a clear play here. He plays Evert for 36. That's by far the best play in this case. So he doesn't waste much time with that. He flips that down. And Josh has not seen his letters yet. Let's see what he's got. Okay, so Josh just drew Jin. He left EI and now has all sorts of bingos. Through the T, through the S, he has increase. So this will be an interesting thing to see what he decides to do. Increase is probably the best play because, yeah, the floating S is the most dangerous thing on the board. If he had a play through the R and Evert, that would by far be the best play because that would block all those lanes, the E, the R, and the T, but he doesn't have one, so I think his play is just to play increase. So this game is kind of a good example of variance in Scrabble. Josh, things could have gone a lot differently. Noah happened to float the tile he needed to bingo with Indenter, and then he just drew the perfect draw to EI after diazos to bingo the next turn. So things could have gone a lot differently pretty easily. So Josh here is mulling over what his best bingo option is, making sure he makes the right tactical decision. His bingo through the T of creatine wouldn't be a mistake necessarily. That blocks the T and the R, whereas increase only blocks the S, but increase also does block some potential 8-letter words through the D, I, A. So yeah, I'm glad that he did this. I think that's the right call to play increase. OMG. Oh, sorry. I mistyped in nose rack. I thought he had one more E. I was about to say he had Effeatly, Effetely, but he has 2 T's, so he only has 1 E. I almost got super excited. So Noah only has 1 play here. He can play FYTTE in the top for 28. He could also play TEF, but I think you want to go ahead and just play FYTTE. Doesn't block any of those nice lanes on the right side, and it gets rid of the Y also. Yeah, this is the first game of the next series. So yeah, Noah is going to just go ahead and play that. And Josh has a blank, but no bingo. So he kind of has junk with that U and 2 M's to go with the blank, but Josh is definitely in a favorable position here. And over on Noah's side, he just drew 5 new letters and drew a WUII. So this is not looking good for Noah this first game. It's going to take a lot of good fortune for him to be able to overcome this adversity. Josh doesn't really have any good plays here. He can play Mom in the bottom left and OD and MI. That's good enough. It scores, and that's really the only scoring play you have here. There's no real scoring, or there's no real sense in scoring such little points to block some of those lanes on the middle right. Especially when you have the blank, you have that leverage. So even if Noah bingoes next turn, it's still going to be roughly tied. So you're not super stressed out or in a bad position. So yeah, Jock is going to play Mom after realizing he doesn't have any real good options here. But who doesn't really have any good options here right now is Noah. I think he's just going to quickly play Awful for 27 in the top right, leaving 2 eyes and just saying, well, kind of stuck with this. There's nothing else I can do. He could play Wiz, WIS, and Knit and Gown in the middle of the board. It's a cute little overlapping play, but for 21 points, leaving AFILU is not exactly exciting either. And yeah, so Noah's going to make the play he has to make, which is not an awful play. Ha ha ha. And Josh drew letters. That will bingo. He would have had to draw real junk for him not to have bingo that turn. So his only bingo from the T that's hanging out from Evert is tutelage. I think Josh can find that. If not, he has other options, but it doesn't really matter. The board is dead, and he's going to have a 100-plus point lead, so once Josh bingos, this game's pretty much over. And especially now that Noah's drawn junk again. And Josh is going to find tutelage, so I am very proud of him. Noah doesn't have any good X plays that score a bunch. So this one is looking really bleak for Noah, down to that 1% range. Just good drawing for Josh. This is just going to happen, but this is why we're playing series, because the luck will balance out. So Noah might be down 0-1, but it's a long way to the first to win 6. Noah's best play is probably just to play Pixie for 30. Kind of opens up the board. Not 30, for 27 rather. And Noah's going to make an interesting play. He's going to play Ixia, which actually is the highest scoring possible play on the board, but it leaves CPRT, which kind of gives him not great potential next turn, but I guess he's just kind of swinging for the fences at this point. As we can see, he's drawn junk with that, so he's kind of buried here. Josh has a lot of 30-point plays here with the Q, so kind of just pick one. You can play Aqua up there. But no, he's going to play QUOIN through the I and Ixia, because that'll just immediately shut down that lane. Yeah, I didn't see that at first. Yeah, that's the right play, for sure. And Josh agrees with me, so that's nice. Josh is doing the slow roll, making Noah have to ponder what those other letters are. So now Noah doesn't really have much. He has Barca in the top right, but otherwise it's just junk. There's no real path to him for him to win this game, unfortunately. So this one is more or less over. As you'll see, a common theme in Scrabble, a lot of games are not competitive towards the end. That was a pit bull sneeze, not a human sneeze. So Noah's going to go ahead and fish because it doesn't even matter at this point. Josh has a few fives through the A. He has Halwa. He has Gala. So that's probably the best thing is to play Halwa. That was added to the dictionary not too long ago. And he's going to see that. So Josh executing this game to perfection. Although it is a little easier when you draw like this. But hey, good job on not screwing up, nonetheless. So Noah can play Leapt from that L and Hawa for 37. It's a cute little overlap play. He can play Warped from the W. There is a blank out, so. But yeah, nonetheless, Noah's down 2 bingos, so even with 2 bingos, he would still lose. Yeah, the camera's attached to the board. So Noah did find that blank, but too little, too late. Josh doesn't have much. He can play Jive in the bottom right just to get rid of the J. That scores 21. But otherwise, doesn't really have much. He can play Jib in the top middle. Oh, actually, yeah. Yeah, sorry, that's the play because the only bingo spot now is to that T, pretty much. And yeah, Jib, that's perfect because that blocks that. So, yeah, good job, Josh. And okay, so Noah has bingos to the end. He can play Electron or Erection, but that's just for spread at this point, even though spread's unlikely to come into play. So this one is over. Josh with the 1-0 lead in the series. even though Josh doesn't need the bingo, he's going to be a bit disappointed that Noah's bingo will block his Podgiest, because Podgiest would have been about 90 something. But too bad, so sad. And Noah's 5 letters are going to be A-A-A-E-I, because everyone cares at this point. Hello to Analog. Thank you for subscribing. Thanks everyone for joining us. This is going to conclude the morning. They're going to take a lunch break soon, and they're going to resume in a bit. And Kenji will be on the call. So stay tuned for a bit for more Scrabble action. Today is an action-packed day. We have Scrabble people dueling it out. We have college football championships. We have all sorts of action. Alrighty. Well, I will talk to you guys later. Enjoy your day.